The biggest question surrounding Harry's return to the UK isn't just about security, it's about what is really happening behind the scenes, because the public story and the hidden reality appear to be telling two completely different versions of events. One side says everything is moving toward a resolution, that protection concerns are being handled, and that a major breakthrough is almost here. But another side is pointing at the details, the unanswered questions, and the carefully chosen words that seem to reveal a much more complicated situation. And the most interesting part? The people closest to the discussion are not saying what many headlines want people to believe.
That's the whole point. They want to be treated as royals. And that is the one thing they were told you can't do. You can't be inside or outside, just choose. So I think if Ravik decided to give them a royal protection, that would be a terrible, terrible mistake.
Harry is deeply unpopular, and he has been whining about security for 5 years in a manner that does not endear him to anyone.
If he really felt the way he says he felt about his family, that this is this older institution, he compares his father and brother's life to being in jail or trapped in a cage when he talked to Oprah Winfrey, then why would you set your child up for that by insisting they have a title?
Exactly.
Everyone just looked at each other with utter disgust. The words expressed to my source were, "We can't say too much, but Meghan was incapable of fitting in with anyone because she couldn't cope with following simple rules, as she felt her way was better."
He didn't have the balls to say, "No, I will not let you speak about my family that way, no matter how mad I am." And I think a lot of people see that and have that value of like, I don't really care what personal drama or fighting is going on. I still wouldn't want someone deliberately trying to ruin my brother or sister or parents' life or reputation or image in the public eye.
And Harry's presence in Britain is always a problem. That's the issue. Harry and Meghan and Harry are dynamite together.
The controversy immediately becomes deeper when one simple detail changes the entire picture. Harry is not even traveling for the main event everyone keeps discussing. The actual games are scheduled for 2027, which means the upcoming appearance is only a countdown event. Yet somehow, the conversation has already exploded into a major battle over security, protection, and whether the past conflicts are truly finished. Why did a future appearance become connected to a dispute that has been going on for years? Why are people acting like a final decision has already been made when the official language appears far more cautious?
The fact they don't give interviews to any other than people who they cultivate and control if they can. Nobody ever asks them, do you regret having lied to Oprah Winfrey? Do you regret having lied on Netflix? And all the magazine interviews, don't you see what a terrible mistake you've made, and are you prepared to apologize? That, I think, is what we're waiting to hear.
The headlines created a dramatic impression. They suggested that everything was practically settled, that Harry's concerns had finally been recognized, and that the entire issue was almost over. But when representatives connected to the Sussexes were questioned, the answer was not a victory statement. It was something much more careful, and that small difference changed everything. Because in stories like this, the smallest sentence can reveal the biggest truth.
Here's where the media headlines are getting really squirrely. This is not a win for Harry. This is not a reversal of his clear, decisive legal defeats. It is simply a reassessment for security that has been conducted for the first time in about 5 years.
That statement became the detail many people focused on. The idea that nothing officially changed created a completely different narrative from the one spreading online. Suddenly, people started asking where the confidence came from. Was the public being shown only one side of the story? Was everyone celebrating a conclusion that had not actually happened? The disagreement appeared to remain exactly where it started, with one major question still hanging over everything: what level of security should Harry receive, and who decides? Harry has received police protection during certain visits when official assessments supported it. That fact alone has become part of the debate. Supporters argue that security decisions should be based on real risks, while critics question whether every concern presented publicly matches the level of danger involved. The argument has never simply been about whether protection matters. The real fight is about whether the system is fair, whether the threats justify special arrangements, and whether the public has been given the complete story.
So, To be a little bit more specific and clear here, Harry lost his legal challenges to the process used by Ravik. The press is framing the current situation as a win, which is problematic, only because he is ultimately achieving his goal of getting police protection, but he is going about it through administrative channels rather than the...
Reports have suggested that Meghan and the children are unlikely to travel to Britain under the current circumstances, adding another emotional layer to an already explosive situation. Because now the debate is not just legal or political. It becomes personal. It involves family, trust, fear, and the possibility of whether two worlds that have been separated for years could ever find common ground again.
He contacted the Ravik offices. The way it is right now, 28 days notice, itinerary, we determine on a case-by-case basis exactly what you need. If the man says, my wife and children will be accompanying me, don't you believe that Ravik would be like, yes, you will have armed guards?
But then another incident entered the conversation, adding even more fuel. Reports about an individual allegedly approaching Harry during a charity-related visit became another example used in the ongoing discussion about safety. Supporters pointed to it as proof that concerns cannot simply be dismissed. Critics, however, began examining every detail and questioning how serious the situation actually was. Some commentators argued that the incident was being presented in a way that increased public sympathy, while others said any unwanted approach toward a high-profile figure deserves attention. And that is where the debate becomes impossible to separate from public opinion. Every detail becomes evidence. Every statement becomes a clue. Every silence becomes something people analyze. Online discussions quickly divided into completely different camps. Some believed the concerns were legitimate and that famous individuals face risks ordinary people never experience. Others questioned whether certain incidents were being amplified for public impact. The argument became less about one moment and more about a pattern that people thought they were seeing. The larger mystery remains, why does this story continue to create such a huge reaction? Part of the answer is because Harry's situation sits at the intersection of everything that creates public fascination, royalty, family conflict, security fears, legal battles, and media attention. It is a story where every side believes they are revealing the truth, yet every side accuses the other of hiding something. And as the debate continues, one question refuses to disappear. If the danger is truly severe, why are there moments that appear completely normal? But if the risk is exaggerated, why do security discussions keep returning again and again? That contradiction is exactly why this controversy refuses to end. The biggest turning point in this entire controversy comes when people look beyond the headlines and start examining the history behind the dispute. This was never just about one visit, one decision, or one security arrangement. The battle goes back years, beginning when Harry's position within the royal family changed and his protection status became a completely different process. Instead of automatic arrangements, the system moved toward individual assessments based on circumstances and official reviews. Supporters saw that as a normal procedure. Critics saw it as a dramatic change that left Harry and his family exposed. And that disagreement became the foundation of everything that followed. The legal battle that came afterward only made the situation more explosive. Harry challenged the decision, arguing that the process was unfair and that the level of protection provided did not match the risks involved. But the final outcome did not produce the sweeping victory many expected. The court decisions remained in place, and that created another wave of debate. Some people believed the system had worked exactly as designed. Others believed Harry was fighting against a process that failed to understand his reality. The most controversial part is that both sides continue to interpret the same events in completely different ways. One side says the existence of review procedures proves that the system was never closed to him. The other side argues that the entire structure itself was the problem. And because of that, the argument never really disappears. It simply changes shape. Then another incident connected to royal security brought the conversation back into the spotlight. A masked individual carrying a crowbar near Sandringham attracted attention and reminded people that security concerns around high-profile figures are not always imaginary. Even some critics acknowledge that serious threats deserve serious responses. But at the same time, others argue that separate incidents are often combined into one larger story, creating a bigger narrative than the individual facts alone. alone. That is where the controversy becomes even more complicated, because when one serious event is discussed next to disputed claims, rumors, and public disagreements, the entire conversation becomes impossible to separate. People begin asking which details are proven, which are assumptions, and which parts are being emphasized because they create the strongest emotional reaction. The ongoing criticism is not only about security, it has expanded into a much bigger discussion about image, publicity, privacy, and the choices Harry and Meghan have made since stepping away from royal duties. Critics argue there is a contradiction between wanting privacy while remaining involved in public conversations, interviews, appearances, and media attention. Supporters respond that public figures can still seek privacy while sharing parts of their lives on their own terms. That disagreement has followed almost every major moment involving the couple. A social media post, a public appearance, or a charity event can instantly become a debate about intentions. A simple caption can create thousands of opinions. A photograph can turn into a discussion about family relationships, public messaging, and whether actions match previous statements. The same pattern appeared when Meghan shared a post involving a friend's newborn and included humor that sparked reactions online. Some viewed it as completely harmless, a private joke shared publicly. Others believed the timing and context created unnecessary controversy. The argument quickly moved away from the original post and became another conversation about how every public action is interpreted. This is the reality surrounding Harry and Meghan now. Almost every move is analyzed through the lens of previous conflicts. Supporters see unfair scrutiny. Critics see repeated contradictions. And somewhere between those two extremes is a story that continues to evolve. The Invictus Games have also become part of this larger debate. For many people, the event represents courage, recovery, and determination. But critics have questioned whether media attention sometimes focuses more on celebrity involvement than on the athletes themselves. Supporters argue that the attention helps bring awareness to the mission and the people involved. Again, the same event creates two completely different interpretations, and that may be the biggest mystery of all. This story survives because it contains so many unanswered questions. Is the security dispute truly about safety, or has it become a symbol of deeper family conflicts? Are public appearances attempts to control the narrative, or simply the reality of living as globally recognized figures? Is the criticism fair, or has every action been judged through a predetermined opinion? For now, the answers remain unclear. The upcoming events, the security discussions, and the continuing public debate all point to one thing: this story is nowhere near finished. The headlines may change, the arguments may shift, but the questions remain. And as long as those questions continue, the controversy surrounding Harry, Meghan, and the royal family will keep unfolding in front of the world.